Ladies and gentlemen, we are very pleased to have global renowned business leaders joining us today who will be sharing their thoughts and insights in an inspiring, insightful segment titled Top Minds. We are glad to invite our first speaker of the segment, Mr. S.Y. Lau, Senior Executive Vice President of Tencent and President of its online media group, with the topic titled Digital Economy, Disruption, Transformation and Opportunities. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. S. Lau, please.
Salam Sejahtera. A very good morning, distinguished guests and friends from around the world within the financial institutions. What a great honor for me to be here today. If we were to consider the sweep of economic history, we can see that the world moved first from an agricultural society to industrial revolution, to industrial society and computer revolutions, and then to information society, and more recently, to what is to be known as a knowledge-based, internet-powered economy. Now, all of these shifts created enormous changes in the way that people lived, society functions, and nations progress. And at every single stage, created severe disruptions in the status quo. Now, let me take a pause here and further examine what you might consider a negative word, disruptions. Disruptions have come and gone many times throughout human society, histories of mankind. In fact, disruption is good because disruptions, civilizations have evolved and innovations have taken place. Disruption is good because it empowered productivity and unleashed the hidden power of imaginations and innovations. So what is this big deal about these new internet-powered disruptions that have created so much hypes and fears across the world within different segments, different societies? Now, as someone whose career path has been rather different from ladies, gentlemen that are sitting down here, you're the bankers, I'm worried. I was somewhat daunted by the thoughts of speaking to such distinguished, excellent groups of audience. But however, what convinced me to do so is perhaps my firm conviction that current trends that is happening within my areas of expertise, a playing field originally designated as the online world, has transformed so rapidly that it now forms the very foundations of what is to be known as the digital economy. And my world is impacting, is transforming, is changing yours in a way that perhaps not many of us here realize. Now, allow me to begin by asking a very simple question. What exactly are the drivers behind the digital economy that makes it so appealing, yet intimidating, and yet full of anticipations and fear that what can it offer us? Now, let me show you something from my world, the world of today's internet. This is how news is being reported to our users in China. And this is how an economy, or rather a historical event that is being restructured and shown to our users today. And take a look at this. This is how millions of users in China are enjoying entertainment, the way that we look at it today. Well, see, my body is on its stage right now. I hope my hair still stands in the place, right? Yeah, it's very important, right? I don't have a good hair like Dato Muhammad, very nice. Well, my body is on the stage, but my mind is transformed altogether in another space. Now, this technology, most of you would know, is called virtual reality, and eventually it would evolve into augmented reality. It is so immersive that it replicates an environment, creating a lifelike experience. In the future, you do not just read newspaper, you do not just watch RTM TV Tiga, you go beyond that. The content creation, the content experience is going to be changed so rapidly. And you know what? That is just the beginning. Now, the world that we are used to know is going to be changing so tremendously, much faster than we thought. And in fact, even what we could imagine. Gaming, medicines, education, even the field of internet itself will no longer be the same. You think you have seen the best of the world? Pay attention, watch this. Watch again. Now, some of us here might think that this is science fiction. Well, some of the things that you have seen just now might indeed seems pretty far-fetched. Well, let me give you a more practical example that is close by. Many of us here have heard about the concepts of Uber and that it has disrupted the traditional taxi business model. Uber alone is not far-fetched. But what if I were to tell you that the ultimate goal of companies such as Uber is not just to disrupt the traditional taxi business that we know, but is actually to pave the way for an artificial intelligence guided autonomous driving automobile system. Now, does it, or do you still think that this is really far-fetched from where we live today? In other words, during the time when we as human beings, when we don't know what we don't know, this will be the oxygen moment where disruptions will be taking place at its maximum potent form. Now, allow me to elaborate further on the digital economy and why disruptions within its purview is worthy of your attention. Ladies and gentlemen, the powers of internet will one day literally reach every single corners of the world. The single biggest implications from this is that we will be living in a massively connected macrocosm. And this fact alone forms the very thesis assumptions of the digital economy. As you can see from here, around 40% of the world's population, and we are talking about 3.2 billion people, already have an internet access. Increased mobility, new ways of connecting, and growing interdependence has actually transformed our lives, while at the same time, it enabled new types of business model and services. Now, take a look at this image, which I hope it doesn't look too frightening. Not yet, there are more frightening stuffs coming by. Now, for those of us who might not know, recently there was a high-profile competition held between the world champions of Weiqi, an ancient and highly so-called complex Chinese chess, and AlphaGo, a machine that was powered by Google. And of course, as you would have guessed, the machine won. The machine won. As this almost unexpected, or rather expected results, depending on how you look at it, sent a tsunami-scale tremor through the world of technology. The questions now being raised are actually how machines and robots would impact our future. Ladies and gentlemen, it is certainly not my intention today just to talk to you about technology. Innovations and technological breakthroughs happen all the time, and to be honest, it could really be no big deal. But we need to understand what turns science fictions into non-fictions. For this, defines the real moments of truth in a quantum-leaped innovation. Yes, we are talking about a quantum-leaped class of innovations. In a world where everything is connected, people to people, people to machines, and even now, machines to machines, what becomes critical behind the scenes is actually the emerging power of algorithm, which would empower and ultimately define digital innovations far even more. At this juncture, I would like to make a special note on this point, that the word algorithm is actually originated from the name al-Khwarizmi, an Islamic scholar that lived during the 9th century and made huge contributions to both Islamic and global civilizations. The gentleman is a genius in mathematics. He was also accredited as the fathers of algebra, and this is just one of the many contributions he has done in the progress of civilizations. So for the purpose of our discussion today, it is sufficient for me to just say that an algorithm economy will ultimately further unleash the power of the digital economy, powered by more quantum-leaped innovations. In short, we will see far more levels of innovations from everywhere taking place during the next few decades at a speed and scope never seen before in the histories of mankind. This is done because they are being enabled by the availabilities of advanced computing capabilities, the untapped value creations of big data mining, and more importantly, the amazing natures of machine learning and artificial intelligence. When you have all these elements all put together, they would unshackle the massive hidden potentials of a digital world. Now, I sincerely hope that by now we have a bit of understanding here and there that the big deals of these disruptions lies in the fact that it is an impact that sees no boundaries permeating all industries. Now let's move on to look at some real-life cases, examples on how this quantum leap class of digital disruptions has created a massive impact in the world that we are living in. Despite digital disruption's potentials to overturn incumbents and reshapes markets, a recent survey from Cisco around 14 industries in 13 countries around the world shows a rather remarkable and alarming findings. We see here about 45% of companies surveyed stated that digital disruption is not yet a board-level concern. 43% of the companies surveyed do not even acknowledge the risks of a potential digital disruptions. Now, obviously, the million ringgit question to ask today is that how long can we continue to adopt this wait and see mindset or approach? Playing the waiting game with disruptor is very risky. The digital economy has changed the business landscape in just less than 5 years. And within the next 5 years, by 2020, many companies may be, in fact, will be mortally wounded by disruptors. There is certainly no time for the faint-hearted. Over the past decades, in fact, over the past 2 decades, I lived in China for 21 years. I have had a ringside seat in witnessing the incredible changes that actually brought about by the rapid growth of the digital economy around the world. As kind of a bit of an insider in that sense, I must say that I wasn't really surprised by the massive innovations that was taking place. But however, I was indeed surprised and taken aback by the speed in which such things could actually take place. Today, speed is really everything. It is only a matter of time before established enterprises are disrupted. If not, they are already being disrupted. So why is that? Simply because in the world of global economy today, the access to capital is much easier. The technological cost is further reduced very easily. And as a result of that, the process of disruptions has been accelerated almost exponentially in recent years. Now, let's turn our focus into an area which should be more interest to you, investment in the new fintech companies. The amount of capital invested globally in fintech companies doubled last year in 2015, and it has grown tremendously since 2010. Just for your information, there are now more than 25 fintech companies that have valuations of more than $1 billion US dollars. The full implication here, obviously, is that even within the world of fintech, things are moving so quickly, technologically, that you can't wait until a trend is actually in the 3 years trends into the full circle before you react. The longer a company plays the wait and see strategy, the greater the chance that a disruptive business will take a big chunk of your customers, for your revenue to disappear, and for the remaining margins that you might have to be hammered right into oblivion. And I hope that sounds scary enough. If not, let's go into a graphic, even more brutal illustrations, some sort of a case study, and see how these things is happening right now. Now, let's examine what is happening to a bank in the US called Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo, the second largest bank in America, along with several others, bigger and major banks, they are being disrupted. Well, maybe the right way to describe it is that they are being unbundled by fintech startups. So how did this actually happen? At Wells, specific banking services and products are being targeted and attacked one by one, but not the bank as a whole. Where do you reach that threshold of risk, you may ask? See, it is not so much a divide and conquer strategy as it is a death by 1,000 cuts. If we were to take a closer look to the ecosystem, the web page that is being challenged, look at this. Every single new player specializing in a specific field, hundreds of them are attacking the entire ecosystem of the banking industry. Now, they make use of advanced technology. They use robo-advisors, super intelligence, analytics tools in the market provisioning, or even pushing the envelopes way into the world of cashless society. These challenges are totally unpredictable before it happened, fast and ruthless, and most importantly, above all, disruptive. Now here's the catch. As we look closer into the success formula of these types of cases, we soon realize that all of these new players have one thing in common. Their business models have moved away from concentrating solely on product profitability to a laser-sharp focus on customer experience. They emphasize lifetime value of their customers, not one-time value. They match supply and demand perfectly at the right place, the right time, orchestrated in a way that takes the incumbent out of the equation, and most of the time, silently. So, we also note that the fintech disruptors, they do not attack the products or services offerings of the industry all at once. They are devious and yet strategic. Disruptors attacked the weaker areas, marginally profitable services, or some of those who are actually outdated products. Ladies and gentlemen, now let's move on to the supply side of the equation. In fact, we move from the supply side of the equation to the demand side of the coin, the consumer. Now, when we talk about the consumers, what better place there is to really consider China? Not because I lived there 20 years, but I guess it's really a good case study for you to understand. In many ways, today's Chinese consumers are the largest, fastest growing, and yet most innovative early adopters of digitalizations. Largest, fastest, and innovative. You don't really see three dimensions happening under one roof, and yet it happened. Now let's begin with this video to give you an updated understandings of Chinese digital world today.
Give me that swing, 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 give me, give me, give me, give me.
Amazing, isn't it? What you have just seen is a real-life portrayal of a typical day in the lives of a Chinese consumer. These people, the new breeds of digital netizens that we call them, they are so immersed in the world of digital that they are actually building a whole new digital world in China. Now, this is important because my experience suggests that what is happening now in China would very much soon impact the way how the world would actually perform as well. See, the numbers does tell the story. The Chinese today spend averagely more than 26 hours a week online. And that's an amazing 300% increase over just a decade. And most importantly, nearly 90% of the entire Chinese netizens use mobile device to access internet. This is a result of years of effort put in by the governments to build such an awesome infrastructure in place that everybody stands equal chance to access the internet. So, in such a reality that we're facing today, what do consumers really want in this new world of digital? The growth of technology provides more efficient ways to serve the consumer. This, in turn, moves the levels of consumerism up on the scale of self-actualization, which actually moves naturally in time. Over time, we have seen that the consumers' expectations of service providers have changed as they now appreciate more elements of self-control, efficiency, and choice that weren't really made available to them decades ago. Empowerment of digital choices back to the consumer, that's the biggest gift that has happened in this land. This classic, or rather this class of the digital consumer, they would not hesitate to penalize providers who are not able to actually meet their needs. In fact, the revolution wouldn't stop here. Over the next decade, we can see that the average digital consumer's profile will become younger as the baby boomer generations ages. To be honest, one of the biggest challenges is that you find it difficult to understand how the young audience behave in the marketplace. And that is a macro challenge faces all sorts of industry in the world today. Generation Z, as we know that, these are the people that are born post-90s, are now the true so-called the digital natives of the day. This new class of consumers are now entering their formative years and are rising in influence. The desire of these young people for immediacy and rapid innovations allows simply zero tolerance in any products or services. I guess that explains why China buys the most large amount of iPhone ever since when it's launched. And also that's the reason why business leaders in China have learned to change from the mentalities of protecting my turf, i.e., defending your existing products, ideas, and services and consumer relationships, to a culture that is forward-looking, customer-centric, and techno-driven. Now, let's take a closer look at a Chinese case study today. We have talked a lot about the danger and the damaging aspects of disruptive technology. But in fact, when there are danger, there lies the opportunities. And there are a lot of opportunities that we have observed that are inherent and embedded in disruptions as well. So here's a story. Until very recently, hailing a taxi in Beijing was a nightmare. You either stood out there, rain or shine, no matter the weather, moving your hand and hopefully some taxi would stop by you. Now listen, this is not just another Uber story that I'm going to share with you. This is different. You can imagine how very few people actually hated the ideas of finding and using taxis. It was simply something that had to be endured, largely because there's no choice. Disruptions happen not because of innovations of technology. Disruptions happen because someone somewhere meets the needs of the consumer better. In Beijing, a city of 20 million people, there are less than about 70,000 taxis. Huge numbers, 70,000 taxis. But the irony of this is this. Most of that 70,000 taxis are vacant most of the time. Why is that? Because taxi drivers simply roam around town trolling for higher fares. I think that happened in many, many cities around the world. See, this glaringly poor service has, of course, led to the explosions of car-sharing services, the Ubers of the like, the industry's original disruptor. But this is not the story I'm sharing with you. In this case, the incumbent, the taxi industry, actually fought back. And how did they do it? Didi Dache is an app which efficiently matches passengers and taxi drivers who are located in close proximity. Very much like Uber, the Didi Dache app allows users to pre-book a taxi, track it in real time, pay with their phone, tip and rate the driver. Like what Dato was saying just now. The choice, the control, the command is given back to the passenger. This was once unthinkable, as in the traditional taxi business environment. You have the associations to worry about, you have the drivers to worry about, you have the consumers to worry about, you have the governments to worry about. And such thing is actually taking place. See, the mergers of a digital element within a traditional services can happen, and it has actually enabled conventional taxi services to fight back against a digital disruptors. With Didi Dache, demand and supply are now efficiently matched, with the results showing that the error rates of taxis in Beijing has been lowered to less than 30%. As for taxi drivers, this is crucial because not only does it increase the amount of fares daily, which is important, but it also lowers the operational cost. He doesn't have to go around the town looking for passengers. The system, the technology tells him where the passenger is. So it shows that a traditional industry with even competitors can work closely together, can reinvent itself before they are being disrupted. It, of course, takes both internal and external commitment and lots of determinations. For the taxi industry, it took a cultural shift of mindset in invoking changes to both users and the drivers. Understand, acceptance of change sure doesn't come easy, but success in change management often depends heavily on a mindset that is open to change. So in the world of digital economy, what are the core factors that determines who wins and who loses? Well, I have a, what do you call it, Oculus here, but I don't have a crystal ball, so I can't really answer that question. But I do, again, have a very firm conviction that those who will eventually excel are likely to be those who follow the winning core attributes with no exceptions. There are 4 core attributes based on our assumptions. First of all, people are willing to combine technocrats' skill sets with an economist mindset. Today, 95% of daily financial transactions in banking are done electronically, and in most cases, the transactions volume comes through direct channels, namely the ATMs, mobiles, and the internet. See, this means your customer experience, the interactions, the direct interface with the customers, the way your brand interacts with your customers is primarily defined by an investment in technology and the competency of your people asset. We know that. But however, this alone is not good enough, simply because as we have seen many companies making the mistakes of blindly just jumping onto the latest techno bandwagons without really understanding the key drivers behind. Simply adopting advanced technology is not sufficient. The best sustainable business models are those that match supply with demand via the best utilizations of time and resources. And it is crucial to build in an economics mindset behind the adoptions of technology. Secondly, optimize customer value with no exceptions. Once again, McKinsey has recently reported specifically about what Asian customers are looking for in banking services. They discuss at length about how conventional banking companies can embrace a digital strategy. The report even predicted what a potential future banking services might look like. Now, Asian consumers are expecting more value, more control, and more choices. The days of merely providing a digital channel and thinking that this is digitalizations are long gone. Consumers are much more sophisticated than before. Regardless of what industry or business we are in today, only when we put the values of the customer first and commercial values would eventually be amplified. Thirdly, revel in competitions. Now, one of the amazing characteristics of the digital age that we have seen is the formations of various new hybrid innovation hubs, with hundreds of thousands of startups interacting in a social ideation, social productions, and with some even achieving prominence within various smaller segments of the society. Banking, investment bankers would know best. Just take a look at some of the startups that for some reason, some that haven't even found a business model, their valuations run into billions of dollars. And how do you make a sense out of that? See, the reason for that is simply this. We have to face and confront reality that the world can no longer rely on the established order to ignite the power of imaginations and innovations. The unicorns of the startups are actually our best chance for progress. Granted, they might be, and they soon will be, disruptors to some of our industry. Well, we all know that it is good to defeat your competitors, but I happen to believe that it is even better if we could nurture our enemies, our competitors, and keep them close by finding a win-win outcome. See, this is one of the best experience Tencent has learned for the past 10 years. We don't work in every single industry. We work with our competitors, the open platform strategy, and that is important. And finally, lastly, wholeheartedly learn to embrace disruptions as a new normal. You will be surprised how difficult this has been for many. In China, the phenomenon rise of entrepreneurships has caught the attentions of the world. But what people often notice are the new dynamics within an innovative society or innovative industry. But to me, the most important implication is actually this, that with the right mindset, every single individual can claim a place in this new age of digital entrepreneurship. Let's play this video.
Tongguan is unenlightened and poor. Due to the impact of China's market economy, the younger generation has to migrate to urban areas to earn a living. The dramatic changes in family structure come in the way of local economic development, not to mention inefficient communication, lack of information, cultural loss, and the deepening of the digital divide.
冇人生打工，快俺都来，帮着人当人，我该我帮你着生活，我该香港。
咱们村呢，大概2000人这样吧。开会呀，那大喇叭喊，还要挨家挨户上门去喊，走亲访友的、上山劳动的都喊不到的，远了。
种茶呢，当然辛苦嘛。如果遇到茶叶的淡季的话，我们的茶叶就只能放在冷库里面，或者就是低价出售嘛。哎，卖不出去就白干嘛。
我们侗族的语言是不能用文字表达的。我和我老公谈恋爱的时候，就是以锅传的情。 唱的什么歌，那就不能告诉你啦。现在的年轻人嘛，不用唱歌谈恋爱了。
On November 12, 2014, Tencent Charity Foundation landed its We Country program in Tongguan, connecting the remote village with the internet. Nearly 100 villagers receive smartphones for free, signaling the era of rural internet all set to take off here. The elderly people and children left behind can communicate with their loved ones in a real-time manner.
他来通知原门轮大门板后博物馆配神后博物馆配神
Village dynamics can be disseminated in a much more extensive and efficient way. Agro-products are exposed to a much broader market. The endangered Kegal louse also finds its way of inheritance. Teaching how to fish is any day better than simply giving away fish. Bridging the digital gap between urban and rural areas, Tencent's We Country program builds a new way of charity based on internet thinking. The positive import of the internet culture expedites the export of the nation's value effectively, revitalizing the economy of the old village and assuring the inheritance and continuation of its historical civilization from generation to generation. Tongguan, one of the millions of villages in China, is being changed gradually for the better thanks to the internet. But this is just the beginning, a first spark of the great many changes to come.
Thank you. No single individual, company, or nation should fear disruption. I think that's a new normal that we're living in today. So, in a very brief summation, the core takeaways for today go right to the core ideas of disruption management. These simple ideas are definitely required of all of us industry leaders operating in a new normal of that digital economic ecosystem in a world that is increasingly global and yet homogeneous in proximity. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have spent quite a fair bit of time in dissecting the ideas of disruptions. Disruption certainly exists and it does excite some people, but I know most definitely, understandably, that it terrifies even more people. I find it rather cliche to end any presentation by saying a line such as, "There's nothing more than fear but fear itself." But I genuinely believe that all it takes to conquer our fear is nothing more than a paradigm shift in perspective. For most of the successful disruption models are not entirely new, as they often include pieces of the past which are very familiar to you, none than other people. The new digital economy and the disruptions that come with it simply forces us to rethink, to re-examine our conventional wisdoms, our ways of seeing and doing things in the past. Transformation is never easy. We know that there will be bumps along the way, but let me assure you that the end of the journey is well worth the travels of that odyssey. One last thing I know for sure. If we do not disrupt ourselves, someone else will. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Swai Lau, for such an interesting, insightful, and thought-provoking presentation.